Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and another video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Daniel Smith watercolour palette of 6 blue half pans that I used for the first time in my last video. But this time I'm going to go into more detail and look at the packaging, price and properties of these professional grade watercolour paints. I'll also be using them to paint a pretty blue parrot in my watercolour sketchbook, so I hope you enjoy the video. So let's jump straight in and start with the price, and they're not cheap. This small set of 6 half pans is currently on Amazon UK for £42.75, which I think is very expensive, even for professional grade watercolours. They are made in Seattle in the US though, so they may be available cheaper elsewhere depending on where you live. If, like me, you live in the UK, it's also worth checking out somewhere like Jackson's, as I managed to get 20% off when they had a special offer on. But are they worth it? Well, let's open them up and take a closer look at what you get. Inside, this card tells us that these paints are unique. They are made with the highest pigment load possible, hand poured and dried to specific water retention levels. We are also told that this may result in slight variations to the look of each pan, but that this is normal for hand poured paints, and each pan undergoes rigorous quality control processes and only passes if it meets the strict standards set for volume and density, regardless of how they might look. The palette itself is made of plastic, I think, with the Daniel Smith logo printed on the front in gold. I have to admit I wasn't too impressed with the quality of the case, and personally would have preferred a metal tin, especially since I had a real job to open the thing up. It was really stiff, and after trying it several times since, it hasn't eased off any. However, in addition to the 6 half pans, there are also 9 empty pans, also a bit fiddly to remove, that can be filled with any tube paint of your choice. These are pretty standard and come with the Daniel Smith logo on the bottom. The only mixing area for your paints is this one flat area on the lid, which in my opinion is a bit poor, and it's also worth mentioning that the palette itself doesn't lay flat when open. So despite being described on the box as being a bonus travel case, I wouldn't consider it usable for painting on the go. In fact, it's not going to provide a practical or functional mixing area wherever you are, but again, that's just my opinion. But let's move on. The other leaflet that came in the box gives you more information on the other half pan sets that are available, which all look really enticing, but I did notice that there were quite a few duplicates across sets, so this is something to bear in mind if you wanted to buy more than one set. I have also been unable to find these half pans available anywhere open stock, so if you wanted to refill your pans you'd have to buy a tube, which are available open stock but vary considerably in price depending on the colour. On a more positive note though, the formula of the pans is the same as the tube paints, and they contain no additives or waxes, just Arabica gum and pigment. So let's swatch these colours out and look at some of their individual properties. I've gone for a bit of a feather theme today and drawn out a swatch grid with 6 feathers to paint in with each of the colours. And I've drawn a black line down the centre of each feather in waterproof black ink to test the opacity. So the first colour is the beautifully named Genuine Sleeping Beauty Turquoise. It has a light fast rating of 1, which is excellent, and the highest rating for light fastness. It is non-staining, does granulate and is semi-transparent. It is also from the Primatech series, so has authentic mineral pigments, which is why there are no pigment numbers for this colour. I'm going to be pre-wetting each of my feathers before dropping in paint, to see how the paint flows on the surface of the wet paper, and try and give you a better idea of their different characteristics and range of values than if I just painted in little squares. I didn't pre-wet the paints themselves before starting, but they were super easy to reactivate and felt really smooth and creamy on my brush. This turquoise is a gorgeous colour, super rich and pigmented, and I love the granulation which you can see as it dries. Being non-staining, it is also easy to lift from the paper, which is great if you like to create highlights like this in your paintings. The next colour is Cerulean Blue PB35. This has a light fast rating of 1, is non-staining, granulating, and this formulation is semi-transparent. The pan wets up easily again, but does seem to be less pigmented than the others. but maybe that's just the nature of cerulean blue. It is, however, really bright and fresh, and it might be interesting to see how it mixes with other colours in my regular palette. The granulation also gives it an interesting texture when dry. Moving on, and we have Lunar Blue. This is made with PB15 and PBK11. It has excellent light fast rating, is low staining, granulating and semi-transparent. It is a super intense pigment, as you can see, and has greeny blue undertones due to the PB15 in it. I love watching this paint disperse on the surface of the damp paper, and again really enjoy its granulation. I used this colour quite a bit in my recent otter painting to paint a deep rich underwater background on a slightly larger scale. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it at the end of this one so you can go and give it a watch. Indigo is the next colour in this palette, and a colour I use quite a lot in my paintings. It has a light fast rating of 1, although this is an independent rating from Daniel Smith. It's classed as being medium staining, non-granulating, and the only one in this set that is completely transparent. It is made with pigments PB60 and PBK6 and is super intense, appearing almost black in its most concentrated form, but capable of producing a wide array of different tones when diluted with water, and I absolutely love it. Although medium staining, I also found that it does lift up easily whilst the paper's still wet, which you can see on this feather. Next we have Sodalite Genuine, and this is the second colour in this set that's from Daniel Smith's Primatech range, so the pigments in it are authentic mineral pigments. This colour was also one of the colours I've been especially looking forward to trying after being inspired by Denise Soden from In Liquid Colour, who used it in a stunning barn owl painting, and I'll try and put a link to that video in the card above if you haven't seen it. This colour is light fast, low staining and granulating, and is semi-transparent. The colour is super pigmented, intense and really fun to paint with, and though quite similar in hue to the indigo, the granulation gives it something special, and this one will definitely be finding its way onto my regular palette for adding interesting textures to my animal paintings. The last colour in this set is PAYNE'S Blue Grey, which is formulated like the indigo with pigments PB60 and PBK6. Like all of the paints in this set, it also has an excellent light fast rating. It is low staining, non-granulating, again like the indigo, and semi-transparent. It is beautifully intense, appearing almost black when concentrated, but with the slight blue undertones will liven up any stormy sky or add interest to shadows, for example. It will also mix nicely with other colours you may have on your palette, such as sap green or even lemon yellow, to create some beautiful, more earthy tones. But that's something I need to experiment with more in the future, so I haven't included that in the review today. So here are all the swatches together, and I think you can just about get a sense of their different properties. But before I go, I wanted to do another quick painting in my sketchbook and use all the colours to paint a cute little parrot. And whilst I show you this, I'm going to give you my last thoughts and opinions on this paint set to help you make up your own mind one way or another if trying them out is something you've considered. As you've probably guessed, I'm none too impressed with the quality and design of the plastic palette or travel case these paints come in, and normally I would have created a swatch card insert to fit inside the palette and refer to whilst painting. With this set though, I didn't do that because in honesty I found the palette so fiddly to open and use that I will most likely transfer the pans to another more user-friendly palette, rather than fill up the empty pans as is suggested. It's frustrating, and I feel that with the price tag and the name, Daniel Smith could have done better. However, that said, I do think that the idea of a small set like this does give you the opportunity to try out the paints without having to spend a fortune on individual tubes. Especially since the formula of the pans and tubes is the same. I looked up the prices and available sizes of a few of these colours, and like I mentioned before, there is quite a range depending on which colour you want. For example, the Sleeping Beauty Turquoise I could only find available in a 15mm tube, which on Amazon currently costs £26.11. Personally, I couldn't afford to pay that just to try out one colour that potentially I might not like or use, so it was good to be able to get the 6 set on sale for not much more than this. The Lunar Blue though, for example, is available in a smaller 5mm size tube at £9.70. But it is a shame that you can't buy the half pans open stock and that the other half pan sets do contain some duplicates. On a more positive note though, the quality of the paints I think is excellent and I really enjoyed painting with them. The colours are light fast and richly pigmented and there seemed to be very little colour shift in them once dried. In my opinion, that is what you're paying for, professional quality paint, so perhaps it's worth compromising the quality and usability of the palette. They contain no additives and they re-wear easily, giving you a nice creamy texture that you might normally only see from a tube. That said, there are no doubt other brands of professional watercolours out there that also boast the same formula in both their tubes and pans. I think my Schmincke Horadam paints are one example of these, and perhaps you can let me know if there are any others out there by dropping a comment in the comments box below. However, there are, I believe, over 250 beautiful colours in Daniel Smith's range, and a lot of them are unique. Only 88 of these are available in 5mm tubes though, but if you simply wanted to test them out, then they do have a few different dot cards available to buy, which I think is a really good idea and something I might do in the future. On Amazon you can buy a 238 colour dot card for £23.95, but again you may be able to get this for less depending on where you buy from and where you live. At the end of the day, I really like the formula and quality of the half pans, and because of them have a new love for granulating paints. I have also been thinking about switching my current palette up a bit recently and will definitely be including most, if not all of these blues in with some of my other favourites. I probably won't be rushing out to buy more half pan sets like this, but I think the dot card is a great idea as a more affordable way to try out small samples. And then, if there's one I really like, I can make a note of it and keep my eyes open for when there's a sale on. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the Daniel Smith range as a whole, and if they hold a special place in your heart over any other brand, then I'd love to know why and which colours are the ones that you just couldn't live without. As well as these blues, I've also recently enjoyed trying out the Moonglow shade to paint a moody monochrome rhino painting, so please do go and check that video out as well if you haven't seen it. So far as this little parrot painting goes, I tried to use each of the 6 colours with a variety of techniques to achieve soft fluffy looking feathers as well as sharp details. I also added in a light orange colour from my Schmincke set and mixed it in with a bit of burnt sienna for the beak and claws. I also painted a loose background with this same colour to add a bit of contrast and used an old toothbrush to add some splatter to the stone the bird is sitting on. Lastly, I glazed over some more turquoise and cerulean blue to finish it all off. Let me know what you think of the finished piece and please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it or found it helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you aren't already and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as I upload another video. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!